Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Kirk again, and this video is part 2 of the legislative branch and the lawmaking process. We're going to be looking at SOL 6C, the lawmaking process, legislative branch, and today's essential question is, how and why does Congress make laws? So first, I have a couple questions. How does Congress make laws? Officials who are elected, first they're elected, and then once they get into the legislature, they make laws for us. What branch of the national government has the power to make laws? Is it legislative, executive, or judicial? It is legislative, and laws are made in Congress. I also wanted to point out that citizens can learn this importance of the lawmaking process by participating in the policymaking process, usually through participating by writing letters or contacting your representatives, giving them your opinion. All right, so now we're going to look at the 5 steps of the lawmaking process. Step 1, or actually, let's go over the key words first. Key word for this step is introduced, committee, debating, voting, and sending the bill. So now we're going to get into a little more detail. As you can see, it moves from left to right. First step, a bill is introduced in one of the houses, either the Senate or the House of Representatives. Then it's moved into a committee. The bill is worked in committee. And this is the same thing as editing or revising. That's what they do in committees. They edit and revise the bill. The third step is debating the bill on the floor of each house. Debating is sort of like a formal argument. They're going to talk about what's good, what's bad, what to take out, what to add, how to make the bill better, or more likely to be voted on. The fourth step is they vote on the bill. And then our final step is the bill sent to the president to be signed into law. Now, the president can also veto a bill and stop this whole process altogether. But then remember, Congress can override a presidential veto. So once it goes through these first 4 steps and it's voted on in the first house it was introduced in, the bill actually, if you follow my mouse pointer, goes all the way back to the other house of Congress where it's introduced, worked in committee, debated, and voted on. Now, once it gets through both, then the bill would be sent to the president to be signed into law or vetoed. Now, this slide is going to show the full process of how a bill becomes a law, but it's kind of complicated. Take a screenshot, look at this later, and we'll talk about it another day. So, what are the reasons the lawmaking process happens? So first and foremost, our elected officials in Congress, they write laws to solve problems and issues. They see a problem, let's make a law to solve it. Now, sometimes laws actually create problems, but we're not going to get into that aspect right now. Individuals and interest groups, meaning you or me, well, really all Americans, we can help shape legislation by being in contact with our representatives. The formal powers of Congress are also limited by the Constitution, just like the president and the judicial system. So all branches are limited. All right, so I have a little example. I want to read this little story to you, and then I have 2 questions and we'll be done. So, Mr. Kirk is very mad that he teaches in an urban school with many minority students. His students do not have nice books, desks, technology, or clean bathrooms or certified teachers. He's had enough of it. Honestly, he doesn't think it's fair for the students or the teachers in the building. One day, he goes to the local chapter of the NAACP and complains to them. And because they agree with him, they go to Washington, D.C. to meet with their representative. Well, thankfully, this representative agrees with Mr. Kirk, the NAACP, and the thousands of other individual teachers across the state. The senator decides it's time to make a change and wants to create a new law to help schools in urban settings. So, I have a couple questions for you. What is the first step for the representative once he gets to Washington to create a new law? Well, it has to be introduced. So, introduce the bill would be the answer. Number 2, is it likely that the representative will get a new law within 1 week? Why or why not? Probably not, because it's a long process for a bill to become a law. It has many, many steps. So if you don't have any questions, that concludes my lesson, and that is the end.